Okay, congratulations on downloading Spider, downloading Anaconda, and getting your Python packages ready. So now let's get into some programming. So what we're going to be doing is we are going to be reading some data that's an output from a solar panel system. So we have all this data in this file here, a whole bunch of it. We're going to be reading this and turning it into this here plot. Sounded kind of funny there. Anyways, let's get started. So how do we get started? First thing we're going to do is we're going to import CSV. Then we're going to get a variable. So this is going to be called in file name is equal to, and then we're going to go into this folder and look in our Python script. So here we have our Solar Data Reader tutorial. That's this. And we're going to want to look in the folder that this is in. So we are going to look for data. So data slash basically what's up here. Data backslash, excuse me. Data backslash solar data, copy that there, and then the file name. So data slash the file name. When you're doing this yourself, you're going to want to put whatever your file is into a folder which is inside the folder which your programs go into. And then we're going to want to do .csv, because we want this to be a CSV file. There we go. Now we are going to want to open this file here. So we're going to open in file name, and then as. So we're opening this, and what are we going to be calling this variable inside of this little piece of code? Well, we're going to be calling it CSV underscore file. So we're basically renaming the open version of this so Python can see this right here. We're going to be calling that the CSV file, but just within this code. Make sure there's a little colon right there. Then we're going to create a variable CSV, cannot type today, reader. So this is going to be what reads this. So Python actually knows what's in here rather than like, oh, it's this file that we opened up and now can do stuff with. So CSV reader and then CSV dot reader. Here we go. And we're going to be reading CSV file. Then we're going to do, it's actually quite interesting here. We're going to type delimiter and set it equal to a comma. So basically what this is this is saying we're going to open this file and we're going to separate each of these rows with a comma. So we're going to be separating this with a comma to make sure that we can actually read this and it's not just a bunch of jumbled stuff. And we can actually see what's different. So go back here. Then we're going to want to type line count. There we go. Set that equal to 0. And then we're going to want to make ourselves a loop. So for each row in CSV reader, So for each row in this reader program, so for each one of these rows, so like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc., we are going to, I'm going to fix that there. Never mind. We're going to do something. We're going to check if line count _count is equal to, that's how you check if something is equal to right here, and then check if it's equal to 0. So basically that's checking if we're on the first line. Then what we're going to do is we're going to print, and we're going to type F. What we're going to print, we're going to print column names are, and then open bracket, close bracket, quotes, comma, space, and then dot join row. Boom. So basically what this printing is doing is it's going to be printing column names are, and then it's going to join each of these rows here. It's going to join the entire row together. So it's checking that if you're on this one, then it's going to join it all together, print it in front of column names are, and then this is like the separator. So basically this is the output. Column names are time, consumption in watts, export in watts, import in watts, self-consumption in watts, and system production in watts, as we have right up there. So what this F does, this basically says, hey, Python, you should be running this code to join the rows in the CSV reader, as defined up here, instead of just printing join row. Yeah. And then just to make sure this doesn't print out everything every time, we're going to put a little bit of code, line count is equal to, is plus equal to, so that's going to add 1. So that's basically going to add on whatever this is to the current line count. So then line count isn't going to be 0 anymore until we run the program again. So now we've got to tell the code what we're going to do if it isn't line count 0, as here. So else, colon, and then date time, set that equal to, row dot split, and then I'm going to, row 0 in there, dot split, and we're going to be splitting it by a space. So basically what this does is if it isn't the first line, then it defines this variable, date time, is row 0, whatever the first row here is, row 0 dot split, and we're going to be splitting it by the space. So whenever a space comes up, we're going to split it in half. So as you can see, there's only a split in between the date and the time. That's why it's called date time. And then you got to go up here, and we're going to define some variables. So make some space. So date, then we're going to make it an empty variable. And then time, we're also going to make it an empty variable. So that means that date and time can be filled up by whatever we add down here. So let's add some stuff. So now we're going to want to turn this row 0, that has been split into part 1 and row 0, 1, and row 0, 2, or datetime 1 and datetime 2. We're going to want to make that into an array. So date dot append, and we're going to make date into an array of datetime 0, datetime 0. So that's our first split, our first split here. So this date, that's going to be that. And then we're going to do the same for time, dot append, except date time. We're going to make that datetime 1 because it is the next section here. Alright, and now is where we go crazy with variables. So I'm just going to make a bunch of space here, and let's get started. Well, I was getting excited about making variables, but the first thing that we have to do is we have to import something. We're going to have to import numpy as np. So we don't want to have to type numpy each time. And then we're going to have consumption, or whatever you want your first row to be called. I just went by these names here. Consumption is equal to np dot array dot, excuse me, I think I did that wrong. np dot one sec. Empty. And then 0. So that's going to be making empty array ready for us to add stuff into. And now we're going to copy this, and then paste this, paste this, paste this, paste this. And then we're going to rename this. We're going to name this export np.empty import. But this is like, oh, you're importing this. Oh, you can't import this, so we got to call it import. I know spelling errors, but hey, you have to do that. And then we're going to have self underscore consumption and system production. There you go. So now we have all our variables, basically each of these columns that we have printed out earlier. These are going to be variables that eventually get turned into the plot. But they're currently just arrays filled with, well, we haven't actually filled them with anything, so let's go ahead and do that. So let's consumption, and then consumption equals np dot append. So now we're basically filling this as we did before with, we are filling it with consumption. It's not how you spell consumption. Consumption, there we go, comma, float, and then row 1. So what this is doing is this is filling our empty array with the first row, or actually it's the second row, of our file. Filling with this and making sure that it's a float and not an integer, because floats let you use decimals and integers don't. So that's what we're doing here. And then we're going to copy this and then paste it 4 more times. 4. And then we're going to do it for each of our variables. Export, and then export. And then we're going to make sure this is row 2, so that each variable isn't the same. So then, import, then let's just copy these here. It's much easier. And then we also got to make sure, change these. Oh. I just cannot do anything today. Wow. And then that. Boom. And we got to change all these. I actually made that mistake once. I was like, why is it not working? Why are all the things the same? Oh, that's why. It's because I didn't change all these. So boom, there you go. That has now, if it isn't the first row, made sure that it fills all these variables with something there. And then of course we're going to add one to the line count. If it hasn't been the first. Oh, there you go. And now we're going to want to print. Move that down a bit. Print processed. Well, we have to actually print it. Processed. And then line count. Lines. Then we gotta add that little F right here just to make sure that the Python actually runs that as a code. And then what this will do when we run it, we will find an error. Let's figure out what's wrong with that. My spelling is what's wrong. There you go. So the column names are time, consumption, export, import, self-consumption, and system production. And we have processed 673 lines. And it should be somewhere about, if we go all the way down, 673 lines. Boom! That has worked perfectly. So in the next video, we will be working on taking all these arrays and putting them into a plot and make this nice plot here. Well, I'm out of time now. Thanks for watching and see you later.